Hello, I'm Ewan Holmes, transitional pastor at Westminster Presbyterian Church in Bay City, Michigan. During these past months, when we've been sheltering in place because of the COVID-19, we have introduced this midweek chat, and it's been a wonderful experience for many of us. I want to share with you this past Sunday. I was preaching about the fact that it takes a village on a variety of levels. That evening, as I was back in my apartment, I was listening, as was routine, to the Moth Radio Hour on National Public Radio. And I heard the perfect story about it taking a village. I want to share it with you this morning. Back on February 1st, 1978, Maxie Jones, a 15-year-old sophomore, started his second semester. On February 2nd, Maxie woke up to find his mother had passed away in her sleep. You can only imagine how devastating that was. And it took several weeks for Maxie to get through his mourning, his grief, and try to get back into a normal place in life and back to school. But by then, the teachers didn't know Maxie very well. He was just another student coming in late into the process. And he wasn't really interested in school anyway. The only reason he went to school was because his mother made him go to school. In English class, a teacher, Mr. Goldberg, often would ask questions directly of students. And several times he would ask Maxie a question. And it usually went like this. The question would be asked. Maxie would kind of shake his head. What? What was the question? Mr. Goldberg would repeat it, and Maxie would give the correct answer. After several times like this, Mr. Goldberg asked Maxie to stay behind one day and talk with him. Maxie shared his story, and in doing so, Mr. Goldberg said, Maxie, I have 8 periods in the day. 5 I teach class. 3 are mine. 1 for lunch, 2 for getting prep work done or grading papers. I want you to come to my office every day for the 6th period. So Maxie would go there. And they would talk. Sometimes Maxie would help Mr. Goldberg with his papers. Sometimes Maxie would clean up. Sometimes they would just sit and read. But every day during 6th period, Maxie was with Mr. Goldberg. That semester, when parent-teacher conferences were starting, Maxie's sister, who had graduated from high school the year before, went as his parent to talk to his teachers. The social studies teacher remembered her and said, wait a second, something's going on here. I'm not going to talk to you. You're not his parent. And before she could try to explain anything, Mr. Goldberg stepped in and just said, I'll talk to you later, but you need to talk to her. And then Mr. Goldberg went around every other teacher that Maxie had and told them the same thing, and then said, and if you ever have an issue with Maxie, if you ever have a question, a concern, a problem, come and speak to me first. By the end of that semester, by the end of Maxie's sophomore year, that 15-year-old had completed the year without missing one day of school. On the last day, Mr. Goldberg said, now, Maxie, remember, 6th period next semester, you be here. And as Maxie started his junior year, he met with Mr. Goldberg every sixth period. And he did it through that junior year, even though Mr. Goldberg wasn't his teacher. He then did it through his senior year, again, even though Mr. Goldberg wasn't his teacher. When Maxie was coming up to graduate, he had his gown and his cap on, standing ready to process in, and he saw Mr. Goldberg there. And he waved to him and said, "Hey, Mr. Goldberg, what are you doing here?" And Mr. Goldberg said, "I'm kind of surprised I'm here too. I've never been to a graduation because I'm a 10th grade teacher. But there wasn't going to be anything that would hold me back from seeing you graduate, Maxie. Nothing." Maxie graduated with honors. He also recognized the fact that from the sophomore year that he started to meet with Mr. Goldberg, he never missed a day of school. And one reason he never missed a day of school was because he was expected to be there. Mr. Goldberg was expecting him to be in his office at sixth period. That's a story of It Takes a Village. You have your own stories, your own Maxies. And maybe you're also a Maxie, somebody expecting you to be part of their lives. The story of the gospel is about that very thing. And as we live it out in our lives, we reach out to those like Maxie Jones. But not only that, sometimes we are Maxie Jones. That's the whole wonderful secular thing about it taking a village. And my friends, I want you to remember that. Reach out, whether it's to a young person, a young adult, a middle-aged adult, or an older adult. You are part of a village reaching out. But also remember, there's a village out there honoring, supporting, mentoring, loving, and caring for you. So on this day, remember that you are part of a village, receiving and also giving. The peace of Christ be with you.